Bible in a Year, Day 22. Readings from the Holy Bible. Genesis chapters 41 and 42. Job chapters 33 and 34. And Proverbs 4. Genesis chapter 41. Pharaoh's dream. After a lapse of 2 years, Pharaoh had a dream. He was standing by the Nile, when up out of the Nile came 7 crows, fine looking and fat. They grazed in the reed grass. Behind them, 7 other cows, poor looking and gaunt, came up out of the Nile and standing on the bank of the Nile beside the others. The poor looking, gaunt cows devoured the 7 fine looking, fat cows. Then Pharaoh woke up. He fell asleep again and had another dream. He saw 7 ears of grain, fat and healthy, growing on a single stalk. Behind them sprouted 7 ears of grain, thin and scorched by the east wind. And the thin ears swallowed up the 7 fat, healthy ears. Then Pharaoh woke up. It was a dream. Next morning his mind was agitated, so Pharaoh had all the magicians and sages of Egypt summoned and recounted his dream to them. But there was no one to interpret it for him. Then the chief cupbearer said to Pharaoh, "Now I remember my negligence. Once when Pharaoh was angry with his servants, he put me and the chief baker in custody in the house of the chief steward. Later we both had dreams on the same night, and each of our dreams had its own meaning. There was a Hebrew youth with us, a slave of the chief steward, and when we told him our dreams, he interpreted them for us and explained for each of us the meaning of his dream. Things turned out just as he had told us. I was restored to my post, but the other man was impaled. Pharaoh therefore had Joseph summoned, and then they hurriedly brought him from the dungeon. After he shaved and changed his clothes, he came to Pharaoh. Pharaoh then said to Joseph, "I had a dream, but there was no one to interpret it. But I hear it said of you, if he hears a dream, he can interpret it." "It is not I," Joseph replied to Pharaoh, "but God who will respond for the well-being of Pharaoh." Then Pharaoh said to Joseph, "In my dream I was standing on the bank of the Nile, when up from the Nile came 7 cows, fat and well-formed. They grazed in the reed grass. Behind them came 7 other cows, scrawny, most ill-formed and gaunt. Never have I seen such bad specimens as these in all the land of Egypt. The gaunt, bad cows devoured the first 7 fat cows, but when they had consumed them, no one could tell that they had done so because they looked as bad as before. Then I woke up. In another dream, I saw 7 ears of grain, full and healthy, growing on a single stalk. Behind them sprouted 7 ears of grain, shriveled and thin and scorched by the east wind. And the 7 thin ears swallowed up the 7 healthy ears. I have spoken to the magicians, but there is no one to explain it to me." Joseph said to Pharaoh, "Pharaoh's dreams have the same meaning. God has made known to Pharaoh what he is about to do. The 7 healthy cows are 7 years, and the 7 healthy ears are 7 years, the same in each dream. The 7 thin bad cows that came up after them are 7 years, as are the 7 thin ears scorched by the east wind. They are 7 years of famine. Things are just as I told Pharaoh. God has revealed to Pharaoh what he is about to do. 7 years of great abundance are now coming throughout the land of Egypt. But 7 years of famine will rise up after them, when all the abundance will be forgotten in the land of Egypt, when the famine has exhausted the land. No trace of the abundance will be found in the land because of the famine that follows it, for it will be very severe. That Pharaoh had the same dream twice means that the matter has been confirmed by God, and that God will soon bring it about. Therefore let Pharaoh seek out a discerning and wise man and put him in charge of the land of Egypt. Let Pharaoh act and appoint overseers for the land to organize it during the 7 years of abundance. They should collect all the food of these coming good years, gathering the grain under Pharaoh's authority for food in the cities, and they should guard it. This food will serve as a reserve for the country against the 7 years of famine that will occur in the land of Egypt, so that the land may not perish in the famine." This advice pleased Pharaoh and all his servants. "Could we find another like him?" Pharaoh asked his servants, "a man so endowed with the Spirit of God." So Pharaoh said to Joseph, "Since God has made all this known to you, there is no one as discerning and wise as you are. You shall be in charge of my household, and all my people will obey your command. Only in respect to the throne will I outrank you." Then Pharaoh said to Joseph, "Look, I put you in charge of the whole land of Egypt." With that, Pharaoh took off his signet ring and put it on Joseph's finger. He dressed him in robes of fine linen and put a gold chain around his neck. He then had him ride in the second chariot, and they shouted a brek before him. Thus was Joseph installed over the whole land of Egypt. I am Pharaoh, he told Joseph, but without your approval no one shall lift hand or foot in all the land of Egypt. Pharaoh also bestowed the name of Zaphenath Paneah on Joseph, and he gave him in marriage to Asenath, the daughter of Potipherah, priest of Heliopolis. And Joseph went out over the land of Egypt. Joseph was 30 years old when he entered the service of Pharaoh, king of Egypt. After Joseph left Pharaoh, he went throughout the land of Egypt. During the 7 years of plenty, when the land produced abundant crops, he collected all the food of these years of plenty that the land of Egypt was enjoying and stored it in the cities, placing in each city the crops of the fields around it. Joseph collected grain like the sands of the sea, so much that at last he stopped measuring it, for it was beyond measure. Before the famine years set in, Joseph became the father of two sons, born to him by Asenath, daughter of Potipherah, priest of Heliopolis. Joseph named his firstborn Manasseh, meaning God has made me forget entirely my troubles and my father's house. And the second he named Ephraim, meaning God has made me fruitful in the land of my affliction. When the 7 years of abundance enjoyed by the land of Egypt came to an end, the 7 years of famine set in just as Joseph had said. Although there was famine in all the other countries, food was available throughout the land of Egypt. When all the land of Egypt became hungry and the people cried to Pharaoh for food, Pharaoh said to all the Egyptians, "Go to Joseph and do whatever he tells you." When the famine had spread throughout the land, Joseph opened all the cities that had grain and rationed it to the Egyptians, since the famine had gripped the land of Egypt. Indeed, the whole world came to Egypt to Joseph to buy grain, for famine had gripped the whole world. Genesis chapter 42. The brothers' first journey to Egypt. When Jacob learned that the grain rations were for sale in Egypt, he said to his sons, "Why do you keep looking at one another?" He went on, "I hear that grain is for sale in Egypt. Go down there and buy some for us, that we may stay alive and not die." So 10 of Joseph's brothers went down to buy grain from Egypt. But Jacob did not send Joseph's brother Benjamin with his brothers, for he thought some disaster might befall him. And so the sons of Israel were among those who came to buy grain, since there was a famine in the land of Canaan. Joseph, as governor of the country, was the one who sold grain to all the people of the land. When Joseph's brothers came, they bowed down to him with their faces to the ground. He recognized them as soon as he saw them, but he concealed his own identity from them and spoke harshly to them. "Where do you come from?" he asked them. They answered, "From the land of Canaan to buy food." When Joseph recognized his brothers, although they did not recognize him, he was reminded of the dreams he had about them. He said to them, "You are spies. You have come to see the weak points of the land." "No, my lord," they replied. "On the contrary, your servants have come to buy food. All of us are sons of the same man. We are honest men. Your servants have never been spies." But he answered them, "Not so. It is the weak points of the land that you have come to see. We, your servants," they said, "are 12 brothers, sons of a certain man in Canaan. But the youngest one is at present with our father, and the other one is no more." "It is just as I said," Joseph persisted. "You are spies. This is how you shall be tested. I swear by the life of Pharaoh that you shall not leave here unless your youngest brother comes here. So send one of your number to get your brother, while the rest of you stay under arrest. Thus will your words be tested for their truth. If they are untrue, as Pharaoh lives, you are spies." With that, he locked them up in the guardhouse for 3 days. On the third day, Joseph said to them, "Do this and you shall live, for I am a God-fearing man. If you are honest men, let one of your brothers be confined in this prison, while the rest of you go and take home grain for your starving families. But you must bring me your youngest brother. Your words will thus be verified, and you will not die." To this they agreed. To one another, however, they said, "Truly we are being punished because of our brother. We saw the anguish of his heart when he pleaded with us, yet we would not listen. That is why this anguish has now come upon us." Then Reuben responded, "Did I not tell you, do no wrong to the boy? But you would not listen. Now comes the reckoning for his blood." They did not know, of course, that Joseph understood what they said, since he spoke with them through an interpreter. But turning away from them, he wept. When he was able to speak to them again, he took Simeon from among them and bound him before their eyes. Then Joseph gave orders to have their containers filled with grain, their money replaced in each one's sack, and provisions given them for their journey. After this had been done for them, they loaded their donkeys with the grain and departed. At the night encampment, when one of them opened his bag to give his donkey some fodder, he saw his money there in the mouth of his bag. He cried out to his brothers, "My money has been returned. Here it is in my bag." At that their hearts sank. Trembling, they asked one another, "What is this that God has done to us?" When they got back to their father Jacob in the land of Canaan, they told him all that had happened to them. "The man who is Lord of the land," they said, "spoke to us harshly and put us in custody on the grounds that we were spying on the land. But we said to him, 'We are honest men, we have never been spies. We are 12 brothers, sons of the same father, but one is no more, and the youngest one is now with our father in the land of Canaan.' Then the man who is Lord of the land said to us, 'This is how I will know if you are honest men. Leave one of your brothers with me, then take grain for your starving families and go. When you bring me your youngest brother, and I know that you are not spies but honest men, I will restore your brother to you, and you may move about freely in the land.' When they were emptying their sacks, there in each one's sack was his money bag. At the sight of their money bags, they and their father were afraid. Their father Jacob said to them, 'Must you make me childless? Joseph is no more, Simeon is no more, and now you would take Benjamin away? All these things have happened to me.' Then Reuben told his father, 'You may kill my own 2 sons if I do not return him to you. Put him in my care, and I will bring him back to you.' But Jacob replied, 'My son shall not go down with you now that his brother is dead. He is the only one left. If some disaster should befall him on the journey you must make, you would send my white head down to Sheol in grief.'" The word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. Job chapter 33. "Therefore, Job, hear my discourse, listen to all my words. Behold, now I open my mouth, my tongue and voice form words. I will state directly what is in my mind. My lips shall speak knowledge clearly. For the Spirit of God made me, the breath of the Almighty keeps me alive. If you are able, refute me. Draw up your arguments and take your stand. Look, I am like you before God. I too was pinched from clay. Therefore fear of me should not dismay you, nor should I weigh heavily upon you. But you have said in my hearing, as I listen to the sound of your words, 'I am clean without transgression, I am innocent, there is no guilt in me.' Yet he invents pretext against me and counts me as an enemy. He puts my feet in the stocks, watches all my paths. In this you are not just, let me tell you, for God is greater than mortals. Why then do you make complaint against him that he gives no reply to their words? For God does speak once, even twice, though you do not see it. In a dream, in a vision of the night, when deep sleep falls upon mortals as they slumber in their beds, it is then he opens their ears and with a warning terrifies them. By turning mortals from acting and keeping pride away from a man, he holds his soul from the pit, his life from passing to the grave, or he is chastened on a bed of pain, suffering continually in his bones, so that to his appetite food is repulsive. His throat rejects the choicest nourishment, his flesh is wasted, it cannot be seen. Bones once invisible appear. His soul draws near to the pit, his life to the place of the dead. If then there be a divine messenger, a mediator, 1 out of 1,000, to show him what is right, he will take pity on him and say, 'Deliver him from going down to the pit, I have found him a ransom.' Then his flesh shall become soft as a boy's. He shall be again as in the days of his youth. He shall pray, and God will favor him. He shall see God's face with rejoicing, for he restores a person's righteousness. He shall sing before all and say, 'I sinned and did wrong, yet I was not punished accordingly. He delivered me from passing to the pit, and my life sees light.' See, all these things God does, 2, even 3 times for a man, bringing back his soul from the pit to the light in the light of the living. Be attentive, Job, listen to me. Be silent, and I will speak. If you have anything to say, then answer me. Speak out. I should like to see you justified. If not, then you listen to me. Be silent, and I will teach you wisdom." Job chapter 34. Then Elihu answered and said, "Hear my discourse, you that are wise, you that have knowledge. Listen to me, for the ear tests words, as the palate tastes food. Let us choose what is right. Let us determine among ourselves what is good. For Job has said, 'I am innocent,' but God has taken away what is my right. I declare the judgment on me to be a lie. My arrow wound is incurable, sinless though I am. What man is like Job? He drinks and blasphemies like water, keeps company with evildoers, and goes along with the wicked. when he says there is no profit in pleasing God. Therefore, you that have understanding, hear me. Far be it from God to do wickedness, far from the Almighty to do wrong. Rather, he requites mortals for their conduct and brings home to them their way of life. Surely God cannot act wickedly, the Almighty cannot pervert justice. Who gave him charge over the earth, or who set all the world in its place? If he were to set his mind to it, gather to himself his spirit and breath, all flesh would perish together, and mortals return to dust. Now you understand, hear this, listen to the words I speak. Can an enemy of justice be uncontrolled? Will you condemn the supreme just one, who says to a king, you are worthless, and to nobles, you are wicked, who neither favors the person of princes nor respects the rich more than the poor? For they are all the work of his hands. In a moment they die, even at midnight. People are shaken and pass away. The powerful are removed without lifting a hand, for his eyes are upon our ways, and all our steps he sees. There is no darkness so dense that evildoers can hide in it. For no one has God set a time to come before him in judgment. Without inquiry he shatters the mighty and appoints others in their place. Thus he discerns their works overnight, they are crushed. Where the wicked are, he strikes them in a place where all can see, because they turned away from him and did not understand his ways at all, and made the cry of the poor reach him, so that he heard the cry of the afflicted. If he is silent, who then can condemn? If he hides his face, who then can behold him? Whether nation or individual, let an impious man not rule, nor those who ensnare their people. Should anyone say to God, I accept my punishment, I will offend no more. What I cannot see, teach me. If I have done wrong, I will do so no more. Would you then say that God must punish when you are disdainful? It is you who must choose, not I. Speak therefore what you know. Those who understand will say to me, all the wise who hear my views. Job speaks without knowledge, his words make no sense. Let Job be tested to the limit, since his answers are those of the impious, for he is adding rebellion to his sin by brushing off our arguments and addressing many words to God. The word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. Proverbs chapter 4. The teacher as model disciple. Hear, O children, a father's instruction. Be attentive that you may gain understanding. Yes, excellent advice I give you. My teaching do not forsake. When I was my father's child, tender, the darling of my mother, he taught me and said to me, let your heart hold fast to my words. Keep my commands and live. Get wisdom, get understanding. Do not forget or turn aside from the words of my mouth. Do not forsake her, and she will preserve you. Love her, and she will safeguard you. The beginning of wisdom is get wisdom. Whatever else you get understanding. Extol her, and she will exalt you. She will bring you honors if you embrace her. She will put on your head a graceful diadem. A glorious crown will she bestow on you. The two ways. Hear, my son, and receive my words, and the years of your life shall be many. On the way of wisdom I direct you. I lead you on straight paths. When you walk, your step will not be impeded, and should you run, you will not stumble. Hold fast to instruction, never let it go. Keep it, for it is your life. The path of the wicked do not enter, nor walk in the way of the evil. Shun it, do not cross it, turn aside from it, pass on. For they cannot rest unless they have done evil. If they do not trip anyone, they lose sleep. For they eat the bread of wickedness and drink the wine of violence. But the path of the just is like shining light that grows in brilliance till perfect day. The way of the wicked is like darkness. They do not know on what they stumble. With your whole being heed my words and live. My son, to my words be attentive, to my sayings incline your ear. Let them not slip from your sight. Keep them within your heart, for they are life to those who find them, bringing health to one's whole being. With all vigilance guard your heart, for in it are the sources of life. Dishonest mouth put away from you, deceitful lips put far from you. Let your eyes look straight ahead, and your gaze be focused forward. Survey the path for your feet, and all your ways will be sure. Turn neither to right nor to left, nor keep your foot afar from evil. The word of the Lord. Thanks be to God.